Hey you guys, it's Moonlander back with another horror movie review. And today we're going to be looking at After Dark Horror Fest 8 Films to Die For 2007 movie called Frontiers. Now this is a French movie directed by Xavier Gaines, and he also directed the 2007 Hitman and The Divide. Apparently this movie received a NC-17, and under the IMDb trivia it says they weren't allowed to show it at the film festival. I bought this on DVD and it just says it's unrated. So this movie starts off showing an ultrasound of a baby and a woman saying how she wasn't ready to give birth to her baby in a time of so much hate and chaos. And then the opening credits roll while footage of riots taking place are shown. So then next you see this lady and she's with her brother who's been shot, and they're trying to meet up with the rest of their group. And these guys have acquired over $100,000 in money, and they have the police after them. Now the movie never tells you where exactly they got the money from. The group ends up splitting off, and half of them go near the border of France where they're gonna wait for the other half, which is gonna take the brother to the hospital. And now this brother ends up dying, and they end up leaving to meet with the rest of the group, which is staying at a hostel that's ran by this family. And it's a very odd family. When these guys enter this hostel, there's two women standing there, and it's not long after that they have group sex with them. Now after this, things turn sour and you're introduced into a rather large family of neo-Nazi cannibals. So the rest of this group eventually ends up at this hostel where they're supposed to meet them. And the movie's basically about this group of people trying to survive and or kill this family that seems to want to either eat them, torture them, kill them, or make them part of their perfect race. So the things I liked about this movie is this family is casted well, and each member of the family is different and relevant. They are led by a Nazi war criminal father. There's the brother that's the leader to be. They have a brother that's like the muscle, and then they have one that's the butcher. And then you got the sisters that are like temptresses, I guess, to lure people in. So the best part of this movie is probably the main character, played by Karina Testa. Now this lady ran through the ringer in this movie, and I mean it really is a good performance. I think she did a great job for this crazy movie. I looked at what she's done since then, and it looks like mostly French television, which I thought was a little disappointing. I mean, I'd definitely like to see this lady in more movies that demanded a dramatic performance. So, now I'd also say this movie never gets boring. It is fast paced and it felt like action packed. And now it's packed with violence and gore. And even to my surprise, there's even like a pretty serious gunfight at the end of this movie. So, it's definitely got a lot going on. So that leads me into the things I didn't like about this movie is, this is an over the top, just kind of all over the place sort of movie. Like this family, they're cannibals, they're Nazis, and it never really focuses on either one like that much. Well, it felt like they maybe should have just picked one or the other. And there was even some parts where they show how they're like storing these corpses, and some of them appear to be alive, and I couldn't tell if that was like their meat storage or they were doing some sort of experiments on these people, because some of them were alive, and they kind of reminded me of like the people under the stairs. And now this family has a young girl. I couldn't guess how old she is because she's like all hunched over and she acts childish. But she refers to these people as her children. And they never explain any more than that. That's all you get. So I just don't know what they were going for there. Now this movie has a lot of like really violent and gory scenes, but it's not done in a terrifying or frightening way. I caught myself like laughing out loud during certain scenes of violence of this movie, and it's not that I necessarily find violence funny. It's just the way that the movie chose to portray these characters and these violent events. And then I would also say I wasn't a big fan of the cinematography in this movie. And one scene in particular early on in the movie really sticks out in my mind of just horrible camera work and editing. And it was a brief gunfight between this group and the police. And I swear I can't even think of a found footage movie that uses such a shaky camera and quick cuts. It was absolutely ridiculous. Like, I feel like whoever was behind that decision was on cocaine is all I can figure. The final thing I didn't like about this movie is the whole political message thing was like kind of lost on me. And maybe because I'm not from France, but typically movies usually are off-putting to me when they put like these underlying political messages. They're always like one-sided, and I just don't care for that. And this movie's like not exactly a smart movie. I don't think that's the best way to convey your message on political matters, by making this ridiculously messy gore movie. So my final thoughts on this movie is it is a mess, but it's a fun mess. And I definitely think that this is a horror movie worth watching. It's just a fun experience. I had a good time with it, and I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Alright, you guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.